Hello everyone, my name is Rohit Papat. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, for a change, I am basically making this video in English. The main reason is that some of our family members, subscribers, are not native Marathi speaking people, so sometimes they find it difficult to connect with us, to um, chat with us. So I thought maybe I'll just make a casual video just like we do Baptanchi Badbad in Marathi, which literally translates in Bapat's blabbering, just chit chat. That's it. So I thought I'll do something like that in English so that anyone who has difficulty understanding Marathi can just have a casual talk. Uh, I don't know. This is my first, I think, first live uh, YouTube live in English. So I'll try my best. Hello, Tejaswini. Thank you for coming live. So, just to give a small update, I've been reading quite a lot of books these days. I mean, the something good that happened while I was not very well. I was sick for almost a week, more than a week, where I was almost bedridden. I couldn't move. The weakness uh, was there. So it just gave me an opportunity to read the books, and I took it. I took that opportunity and started reading some of the books written by the authors, which otherwise I wouldn't have picked up, to be honest. Not because I don't like what they write or the style of writing or the genre. The main reason is, unfortunately, those authors, those writers, storytellers are not really considered like the maestros or the stalwarts in Marathi writers' world. I don't know why, but the foremost, uh, underrated storyteller of all is Suhas Shirvalkar, known for his exceptional storytelling skills, whether it's courtroom drama or action or thriller, murder mystery, or any kind of mystery, really. To be very frank, I'm a well-read person. I have my own library. I have more than 450 books, and I've read them all. Very few people really have masterfully written stories about action. It's almost, I mean, when you start reading it, uh, it literally sounds like an action movie, but from 70s and 80s, definitely, because the time in which these books were written, the stories were told, that was the time of 70s and 80s. Uh, and another good thing that I saw was that they had the characters in place. So it was not like a story that you had to figure out who is the hero, who is villain, who is protagonist, who is antagonist. It was absolutely clear from the first sentence, like who is the protagonist and who is the antagonist, who are the sidekicks, as we call them as writers. The sidekicks are like the side heroes and side villains, something like that. So I've been reading those books. I finished reading five of Suhas Shirvalkar's books in a row. I couldn't stop reading any of those once I began. It was so fluent. Um, I, I could think of some uh, flaws here and there, but in general, as stories, those were just amazing. And I wonder why he is not, you know, given due for all his work. There is Suhas Shirvalkar, and then we have Baba Kadam, we have Gurnath Thakur, if I'm not mistaken. All these writers, there was a time when these story writers were writing books like weeklies or fortnighters, where they would publish like a new story after 10-15 days or something. So that was an update. Like, I did read Suhas Shirvalkar's book. Along with that, I had uh, a book with me that I wanted to read for quite some time. That was 50 more crime stories. It's like an assorted uh, uh, collection of crime stories authored by various different writers and storytellers. I mean, on one side, I was reading Suhas Shirvalkar's book, and on the other side, I was reading those crime stories. And I'll be honest, I found Suhas Shirvalkar's books and stories more intriguing, more interesting than those books. So, I mean, I read the entire book, but I was not like blown away really by any of the book, any of the story from those 50 more crime stories. And recently, okay, there is another writer who is well known for paranormal and horror stories in Marathi. His name is Narayan Dharab. Recently, I bought a book called Chandrachi Savli, which translates into uh, Moon's Shadow, or Shadow of the Moon. Uh, it came like a surprise, and lots of memories just flew past by. Chandrachi Savli was the first book that I picked from the library. In the Kothurud area of Pune, there is a famous library called Vishwas Library. It's very much famous and very much loved by everyone. My parents had an account in that library, and I guess I was in fifth or sixth standard. I don't know. I don't clearly remember. Almost like fifth and sixth standard. And my mother took me there, and it was during the summertime when she opened one account for me also. And she said, okay, just pick any book that you want and start reading. I clearly remember the first book that I picked up, that was Chandraji Savli by Narayan Dharap. And I kid you not, I finished that book in one sitting at night in our living room in our previous apartment. I was the only one in the living room on the sofa. It was like dark outside, midnight, and I was reading Chandraji Savli. You can imagine I was just in fifth or sixth standard, and I was reading that book. Definitely, there were very few things I understood at that point of time. I had less idea about the world, definitely, than now. But I was so impressed, and I'm glad that I chose the right author or the right book to begin my journey as a reader. And it just started my journey towards uh, this genre, or genre, however you want to call it, where we are talking about the unknown territories, uh, the realms of just the instincts, or beyond reality, or something that's not in your hand or cannot be explained really. And there are many aspects to it. So I just believe that that book had an impression on my mind. If you have watched my web series or short films, or have watched any of my uh, stories. I don't know how many I've shared, but the poetries also and the subjects that I talked about usually have that tinge of unknown, because I personally am intrigued and interested, and I'm curious about that area where there is something unknown. There is something that I'm not aware of. It just gives me some incentive to dig up the reality, to find out like what's the truth. And interestingly, after almost 24 years, I bought that book again. All these years, I remembered that I have read that book, and finally I bought that book because I wanted that in my collection. That's Chandraji Sauli by Narayan Dharab. I have several other books written by him. He's a well-known writer again. It's just that sometimes, I was talking with my friend the other day while when I read Suhash Shirvakar's two of the books. One was Samshay, that's doubt in Marathi, and the other one was Murder House. Now, honestly speaking, if those stories were to be published in, let's say, some other language, it would have been like a national or maybe international sensation, because I've read Sidney Sheldon, I've read Cook's book also. So I've read English authors, and I know their kind of writing. And Suhash Shirvalkar is no lesser than those authors. In some cases, honestly, I was able to connect with those stories more than Sidney Sheldon, for very obvious reason that Suhash Shirvalkar's stories have the Indian background and Indian uh, texture to it. It was easy for me to connect with the realities in those stories. So that's some update that I had. I ordered some new books while I was sick, and I was able to read all of those. There is one remaining though. That's Dead Shot. I mean, here is the thing. Even the titles of the books are so interesting. I find it very fascinating because on one hand you need to write something that people like, and on the other hand you want to keep a balance of not falling into the trap of uh, you know give what people like, because I've seen many people straying away from the path, uh, you know doing something really silly or cliche, or extremely predictable things, just because people like it. There is, I mean, as a writer, I find it a little bit odd to say like, okay, I'm doing this because people like it. You should be doing what you like, and if you're honest in it, people like it. People really like it. People like honest way of narration. People do like honesty. Maybe they will not agree with you. That's okay. Maybe they will not agree with you. That's perfectly fine. But people do appreciate honesty. No matter, even though people say like people are not honest, the time have changed and everything is practical and everything, that's fine. But the human instinct, everyone understands, everyone knows when someone is being truthful or honest about their own opinions and works. So I could see that Suhash Shirvalkar did not fall into that trap. He just loved telling the stories. That's what I'm coming to a conclusion that he just loved telling the stories. He just loved building the characters. He just loved designing the stories. We call it design of a story. Fortunately, I'm an engineer, so I know how something is designed and built. together and assembled together. And on the other hand, I'm a writer, so I use those techniques actually to design a story. Writing a story and designing a story, these are two different, totally different processes. And I'll just give some brief. Writing a story, is a process of collecting sequence of events, okay? And designing a story is basically arranging the sequence of the incidences or the coincidences, or however you want to call it. So these are two different things. You have to design the story sometimes to make it appealing, to sound interesting. And Suhas Shirvakar and Narayan Dharab and these stalwarts are really masters of that craft. I don't call it art, to be honest. I call it more like a craft than art. But that was a that's how I see it. And like I said, these days I'm reading Narayan Dharab. She's Chandraji Sauli. I think I'll finish it by tomorrow. I don't think I'll take more time than that. It just that it's been a bit busy with my office, so I was not able to come out live today. Actually, I wanted to talk about a topic that's been uh, doing circles in my head for quite some time. That's financial independence. I know I've promised to talk about it. It's just that it's a big topic and it will need some time to give the context. Otherwise, there is possibility of having misunderstandings, and because I do have a very different point of view about that for sure. And it may not sound politically correct as well, although we don't care about politics in our channel. The times are such that if you're not politically correct, there is a danger that people just label you with something. So I, I want to be careful, and I want to give a proper context before I start talking about financial independence, because I have thought about it for a long time, and then have come to this conclusion. Like I said, I explained that in last video, I guess. It took me a lot of time to figure out uh, answers for my queries and my doubts and my questions. It took quite a lot of time, because the reason is I could have gone to someone and tried to understand the issue. Definitely, I did that in some cases, but I need to have my own understanding. I need to have my own opinion. Otherwise, I will not have that conviction. I don't want to talk on something where it's like a hearsay. That's what we call in legal terms, like it's a hearsay. It means that, okay, this is according to someone, this is told by someone. I don't want to give that. I'll give my opinion, definitely. And being a family man and being a father of a daughter, I think I am perfectly qualified to have that opinion. And being in a corporate world, having been living abroad for for some years, really, and understanding the meaning of freedom, it I mean, it takes time. It takes time to explain that. So I'll make a video. I'll make video in Marathi, I think. If you're interested to discuss about that, please let me know in the comments, and I'll talk about it in either English or Hindi as well. But that's a topic that I think is really misunderstood and abused, used like a tool, like a weapon, and it's destroying, lot of families and mental stability, peace in life. Like I said, I'll I'll talk about it when I'll have enough time for giving the context. Otherwise, it will just sound like incorrect all the time, because we are tuned in certain way. We are always tuned in certain way to think in a certain manner. Anything that goes against it, anything that crosses it, it's incorrect. That's how we are taught, and that's why I call it Brahmacha Bhopa. It's a Marathi term. I don't know how to explain that in English, but it's just a misconcept. It's a misconcept. There are lots of misconceptions, definitely, and I just find it that to be worth something in the society. At least I'll tell the truth that I'm seeing. If there is any counter argument, that's okay. I'll definitely ready to listen to it, but uh, we cannot just continue like that. It's not useful. It's not useful for anyone. And without understanding the basics of human existence and psychology, it's just impossible. It's very easy to, give labels and throw judgments. It's very easy to do that, but it takes some real thinking, some real churning of thoughts, to come up with a conclusion about that. And I'm convinced that I I know, like what that has done and what that is about. But not today, not today. Mostly tomorrow or day after tomorrow, sometime. Not today. So that was it. That was the update. I'm thinking about which books to order now. I okay. That was an unfortunate thing. I had to give away my engineering books. I wanted to donate them to some library or some needy person, but no one really came forward. I posted it on several channels and several media platforms. No one came forward, so I had to give them. Now, the good news is I have now more free space to keep more books. So I'm looking for new books, and most probably I'll buy the storybooks only. For some reason, I'm more into non-fiction. I'm sorry, I'm more into fiction. I'm not much into non-fiction or biographies. It doesn't attract me that much. It's not like those are bad. I'm not talking about that, but it's just that I'm not too interested to know like how they lived. I mean, not very few people really I like, and like whom I want to follow, and I've read all about them. Like maybe it's Shivaji Maharaj or Shri Krishna or Chanakya. I've read about their lives. Hello, Krishna. Oh, long time, long time. How are you? For a change, I'm making a video in English, uh, going live in English. Especially, actually, it's for those our friends um, who have difficulty understanding Marathi. It's funny how it started. Actually, I uh, I made some videos about Tukaram Maharaj's Abhang, and we got some requests from non Marathi speaking people, like, can you explain that in either Hindi or English? And then I started making videos in Hindi, and it just got picked up, and it's among one of the most heard or watched video actually. I'm good. I'm good. Finally, I'm out of all the illness and sickness and weakness. I'm going back to gym again. It was my third day today, so I'm glad I could I could make it successfully. Yeah, thank you, thank you. It For me actually it almost sounds like a official meeting, because usually in the office we speak in English, and I have to switch my accents sometimes depending on whom I'm talking with. I try to use different accents, And when I have like mixed crowd, that's a nightmare for me because then I don't know which accent to use. Because I can literally speak in really good Midwestern accent too. People like really can uh, identify me from Midwest. It actually happened with me. I was in Singapore for official visit and for a certification program, and the instructor was from Australia. So I started speaking in my Midwestern accent, and she asked me like, "Are you from United States?" I said, no, but I lived there for some time, and it has a very peculiar accent. I mean, it has a tinge of uh, southern pronunciations, but because of a lot of Irish influence, right? It has that hardness in the uh, in some of the latest pronunciation, like we just say and some funny incidences have happened with me. It's like I was with my friend. She was from California, and in the university, and I said like, oh, it's monotonous because that's how we pronounce it, right? Monotonous, monotony, and she she just couldn't get that. Like, oh, what do you mean? It's like, okay, it's very simple word. I thought I was using some difficult word, but it was very simple, right? Monotonous, monotony. So I just wrote it down. Like, okay, this is what I'm talking about. And then she was like, okay, oh, monotonous. Okay, fantastic. That's how I learned that in Missouri, like where I was studying. It was, by the way, some people like southern people call it Mizora. People who are like from there, some people call it Mizora, then Missouri, and then I got to know like, okay, it's monotonous, same as banana. You just call it banana, right? It's not banana there; it's banana. So that was fun. So back to the story. It almost feels like I'm talking in a meeting or something. I had busy week so far. Hopefully tomorrow will not be that busy, and we'll get ample time to talk about financial independence and all that. Don't worry, it's not about like how to be financial independent. I just want to give my perspective about that. Oh, and by the way, while rearranging my library, I found a book, the abridged version of Mahabharat from the Penguins collection. That was good. That was good one. It has lots of stories, lots of different stories. And recently, I watched a video by Dr. Sucheta Sahasrabudhe. I will recommend definitely anyone who is listening to this video, anyone, like everyone who is live, do search for Dr. Sucheta Sahasrabudhe. I'm sorry, Sucheta Paranspe. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. That's Sucheta Paranspe, Dr. Sucheta Paranspe. And she has given extensive lectures on Rigved, on Mahabharat, on Ramayana and Upanishad. I mean, she's just extremely learned professor. She taught in I think United States for some time. So that was. I mean, I will definitely recommend to Suchita Paranspe. Yeah, search for search for her name, and just amazing. There were lots of things that I was not aware of, and it just opens your eyes, because very few people really read it. I've read some of the Upanishads. I'm not saying like I read all of them. I've read Rigveda as well, but the translation of it, but the way she explains it, right? It just amazing. Search for her name, Dr. Sucheta Paranspe. Amazing. All right, I just wanted to, have a small chat today. Actually, I'm just tired with the whole day's work. It's been really busy for me the last 2 3 days. But definitely, we'll talk about some other topics. Okay, that I like. One is that financial independence. I think there is another one. The one story I wanted to talk about was Eklavya story, Eklavya and Dronacharya. Just like we talked about the Karna, right? Do you want to be Arjuna or do you want to be Karna? Uh, there are many misconceptions, many, how would you say, out of context understandings of how world works and how it used to work, because the primary mistake that we make is to uh, apply today's standards to something that happened like 1,000 years ago. It's just difficult, and we do it. Okay, not, I mean, we, by we I'm not saying like we, but the system or the educational board or whatever you want to call it, or educational system, you know it does that in a very subtle way, where sometimes it compares and equates with the with today's system. Sometimes it finds it like extremely opposite to so-called uh, modern theories or modern philosophy, especially when it comes to democracy, right? Okay. When you say democracy, everyone is like, okay, wow, we always had democracy. But the same system, if you want to apply it on something else, whether it's coexistence or hierarchy in the society, the same system becomes evil. So, I mean, either you don't paint it like in good or bad or evil or pure, or just accept that every system has its own flaws. The same like the system that we are living in right now. I'm sure, and you also know it. After almost 100 years, let us say, if someone looks back in the rules and laws and everything that we are living in, or the standards or the norms that we are living in 2023, they'll laugh at us. Like, okay, what kind of society it was? Oh, Kavita, Kavita. Okay. कविता घ्या बरं ते झाले ओके माझी की आणखीन कोणाची that's also a question. Okay, so Krishnaji is asking like we want I mean I should make video about the poem. It's like my poem or someone else's poem. Like you mean Rasagrahan or because I'll make I've uh, chosen a poem to talk about, not today definitely, but Chafa Bole Na, right? Now in the song we just have 4 5 stanzas, but it's a bigger poem than that. There are many other stanzas which are not taken in the song, and they definitely give some more dimensions to that poem. So I'll be talking about that soon, after the financial independence thing, not on the same day. But we'll make it. We'll make that video. No problem. Definitely. All right. It's been yeah. Sure. 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 But Safa Bolena, uh, I've selected for my next video. The next video that we will have on poem. or the Rasagran that will be on Safa Bolena for sure. Kavi B has written that poem. It's just fantastic, and it has deeper meanings to it. It has some layers to that. It's not that straightforward. Now many people just say very plainly, okay, Safa is this, Safa means that. Safa is like a simile, it's not, but it's not. It's like a metaphor. People say, okay, Safa means Safa. How do you call it? No, Jasmine is Mogra. Safa, how do you call it? I don't know. I can't recall the English name for Safa. It's just a flower, basically. It's a very fragrant and beautiful flower. So, so people just say it's like a metaphor. But what beyond that? We'll talk about the things beyond that metaphor only. So I'm looking forward to that too. Yeah, but we'll talk about it. Okay, I'll. That's all I had. It's near midnight now. I think I'll call it a day. Just wanted to come live and just have a talk with everyone. I told you before also, right? When I was not well, this was one place where I wanted to come back again and again to talk with everyone, to, you know, uh, really share what is happening, because it's like a family, right? It's like family and friends and everyone coming together where we are not really uh, I mean, we talk like like friends who care about each other. I just like it, and I'm glad and grateful that we have this platform to talk with each other. It's more like a lifeline, It's like tonic, and I needed that because, like I said, last 2 3 days have been really busy. So it will definitely help me, and we'll talk soon. Okay, thank you for coming live. I'll stop now and take some rest. Okay, take care of yourself. I know there have been some uh, viral infections going on, but I will say do exercises, have healthy food habits, and you should be fine. Now I got sick, I know, but the 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 fitness focus, helped me to get out of it quickly. It helps to be, to do the exercise. It helps to be fit. It's good for everyone. All right, take care everyone, and I'll see you soon, talk to you soon, and we'll talk on financial independence next time. Till then, if something else really interesting happens, I'll post about it, but my plan is to talk about some of the topics. Yeah, thank you. All right, good night then, and take care of yourself. See you soon. Thank you.